Just the act of recognizing that you're a bad person is not enough to change. And it's not even almost enough. It's just not going to cut it. I'm sorry. Change is actually the hardest, but also one of the easiest things. When we finally do change, we only tend to do so without even noticing, because changing is all about character. It's not about doing a good deed once. It's not about singular instances of goodness. That doesn't really count. There's this quote from BoJack Horseman where Diane says that she doesn't believe in good or bad people. We're all just people trying to figure our shit out, or something along the lines of that. And I think that's very true. Calling yourself a bad person is, like, so much of an oversimplification of who you are as a person. And, like, if you go around then and you call other people bad, then you're overlooking so many circumstances. You can do shitty things, but, like, labeling people into the false dichotomy of good and bad sort of makes people less inclined to change, even for people that we call good, because then it makes them less likely to want to try. Because if you're already inherently good, which is what this notion is suggesting, you won't want to make an effort. And then if you're bad, you're not going to want to make an effort, because no matter what, you're being vilified. So the point of saying all of this and maybe calling you out is because I don't think I'm necessarily, we're not going to say that I'm a bad person, but I don't think I'm definitely not the best possible version of myself, and I do think I do a lot of bad things. So I thought that this is a way of holding myself accountable, and also talking through it is very healing for me, and maybe you can learn something as well. So I thought I'd give you some nuggets of wisdom on how I'm trying to improve as a person, and maybe how you could improve as well. Changing is literally one of the hardest things you have to do, and that's why it's so funny to me that people tend to change without even realising. It just happens over time. It doesn't happen after doing one good thing. Implementing good habits is a very hard place to start, but it's the beginning, so you have to do it. I think it's good to recognise the bad habits that form the negative part of your character that everyone has, even some of the best people you can think of, and then to invert those habits to sort of see what you could be doing instead, or recognise things that are and could be beneficial to you and your health, but also the people around you. There has to be a balance of, like, not being selfish, but not people-pleasing. There's a very fine line between there, and it's like both ends are they're not good. Both ends are, like, pretty bad. So I made a list for myself on things that are bad for me that I need to stop doing, and things that are good for me that I need to implement more. And honestly, I hardly do any of the good stuff, and I do most of the bad stuff, but I feel like by verbalizing it, by talking to myself, and then by sort of putting it on the internet, I can not only share wisdom, but it's going to make me want to keep my word even more. Doing this for myself without the need for an audience, like, you just happen to be here. I think it's still okay to have some sort of audience, but, like, for me, I'm putting this on the internet with no, like, expectation of a response. Like, oh, you're so good. Like, I'm not expecting that response. That's the thing. Like, I'm allowed to be perceived. I'm gonna be perceived anyway. But, like, I don't expect a specific type of, like, sympathy or even anything to come out of this. Just pure good vibes. Some of these are very specific, and I'm being very vulnerable because some of these are quite shameful. That's why they're bad habits. Number 1. Stalking people who I have no business stalking, i.e. people who are no longer in my life, and I would like to keep it that way, or they just make me feel like shit. For instance, something that I do a lot is I check up on how some people I don't like, from one way or another, I check up on how they're doing, but, like, I open my block list, because they're all blocked, and I'm like, oh, I don't want them to interact with me, I don't want to see them, but then, like, I keep them there, but then I go into my list, and I'm like, so what are you up to? And then if I see that, like, I know I'm gonna be upset, you know, like, people post the best parts of themselves, so I'm gonna upset myself inevitably. That's what I want. I crave that sort of, like, it's just stabbing myself in the back over and over again, you know. It's really strange, but I have a stalking problem a little bit. On that note of like only posting the good parts of yourself, every so often I'll have a tiny little vent on my story, which is very immature. And I've been doing it a bit less, but I like to think I've handled it in a good way, but it's just, God. Like, the problem for me is it's not always immature, but I think if I have something to say that badly, I should either say it to that person or keep it to myself, because, like, no, not everyone needs to know my business. Not everyone needs to know your business, okay? And especially not when, like, 200 of those people aren't even, like, that's not for them. This is very specific. Purposefully looking for people who will upset me just by their presence in public, i.e. in college, i.e. when I notice them, my behaviour immediately changes with the intent of them perceiving me, i.e. noticing people who suck or have wronged me, and I know it's gonna make me feel shitty. Basically, like, I see someone who I don't like in public and I'm like, I don't know, I have this need to, like, overact and be like, oh, wow, I'm doing so good, it's just really strange. Or, like, just paying attention to them in general. Like, keeping, like, a watchful eye on them. God, I'm so weird. No, but, like, I'm always so hyper-aware of myself and of, like, everything. But, like, I don't even talk to these people. I don't even like these people, so why should I even be doing this? So, following that, focusing my time on any people who aren't good for me in general. Doom scrolling when I know I could be doing much more worthwhile things. I did on a whim start reading, or rather rereading, because I read it during COVID, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. God, I loved that as a kid. But yeah, so I could be doing so much better stuff with my time. Always hating on people or criticizing them, and not for a good reason most of the time, not for a valid reason. But even if I have a reason, I still should keep my mouth shut. Because, like, come on. Ghosting people, I've stopped doing this a little bit, but I need to actually communicate what people are doing wrong, even if I don't have the intention of cutting them off, like, especially then, like, just communicate with people. And it's okay to sever friendships and to remember that, unless if they did something specifically horrible, then, like evil stuff, then that doesn't always warrant, an explanation. Taking my anger out on other people or myself, that's not, like, okay, I'm not violent, but, like, in my mood, Like, just because I'm having a bad day and I'm angry doesn't mean I have to... God, and that's... Oh... and that's so difficult for me. It's so difficult for me to keep my emotions on the inside. I hate this. Following that, not taking any actions to feel better when I'm in a bad mood. God, I do that every day. Oversharing. Like, just stop it. Just stop it. Hurting myself in any way. Like, even, like, words, not just actions, even, like, self-deprecation. Alcohol, or rather, not necessarily alcohol, but going past my limit intentionally, or getting drunk when I know that I shouldn't, that's not good for anyone. I think a lot of these are applicable to a lot of people. Some of them are just a bit kooky. Not confronting my emotions when I'm hurt, and not confronting people that I care about when they upset me. Ignoring my triggers. And then I just wrote alcohol again. Wow, really lamenting in the alcohol. Gossiping. Ooh. God, that's gonna be hard to stop. The idea of revenge for closure. And, like, not giving myself closure, because closure doesn't come from the other person. Closure comes from within. Spreading any sort of uncalled for negativity. I might make another video on this, but, like, it's okay to actually stand up for yourself. Like, that's fine. I mean this in more so, like, a petty sense. Or, like, if it's just someone who hasn't really, like, fucked me over that badly, like, they're talking shit about me, or, like, they're saying, like, strange things. But, like, if it's properly evil stuff, then I feel like a lot of this isn't apologize. Like, I'm allowed to stand up for myself. And self-love is all about finding that balance, because also you can't be too selfish. You have to care about the people around you. Even if you don't like them. Holding grudges. Wow. Focusing too much time on the past that I'm not grateful enough for the present or the future. Not truly appreciating others around me. Like, even if I love someone, it goes beyond words and just instantaneous actions. It's more like a habituation of unconditional love, which is tough, but, like, it's so important because these are the people who love you the most, and it's like, they actually deserve your time and effort, not on these negative people. That's the thing. If you're focusing on the ops all the time, then you're gonna spend less time focusing on not only yourself, but people who haven't wronged you. Not developing my talents. I've been doing some art recently. I posted some on like short and stuff, but like, I don't know. I've been doing it as like a kind of form of therapy, so it's not like, I don't take it seriously. Like, I know I'm not very good. I think I'm good though. I think I'm good. I just think objectively, like, this isn't something that I necessarily like am proud of, but I think it's been helping me so much more than just like writing stuff down. My brain can't keep up with it, and emotions are so abstract. Overthinking silly and absurd situations, some of which aren't even happening, or aren't real, or at least not happening in the present. Staying in bed for too long when I wake up. Focusing on the aspects of my body which are not what I consider normal, instead of lifting myself up, including my flaws. Caring about the opinions of others over my own, especially when I don't even like said people. Wow, I'm really calling myself out. This is very shameful, actually, knowing especially like the only people who are gonna watch this are my friends, and it's like, wow. Well, I say that like you don't know. Lastly, anything that prioritizes temporary happiness over long-term contentment. Okay, now a bit more positive. Things that are good for me, I think. I don't do most of these yet, but I'd like to implement them because I think they would help. Truly believing that I deserve enough, and what I have is what I deserve. Unless if it's bad. That I deserve better. Yeah, to an extent. It's a balance. Not making it everyone's problem if I'm in a bad mood. It's a personal battle, so why should I want others to feel bad as well, even if they suck? On the flip side, sharing positivity when I'm feeling good, especially in my worst moments. Making small talk, just social interactions in general, they don't have to be deep. It doesn't always have to be deep. I mean, it's lovely, but like, you can just talk to people. You know, it's something like I've been trying to do, like say good morning to the bus driver every time, because like, so many people just ignore the bus driver and I feel bad. Smiling. I have this book I'm reading up on Buddhism. It's called, what is it called? I don't know where it is. Peace is in every breath. I think it's something like that. And one of the ways of appreciating the here and now is by smiling when you wake up. And your first thought being appreciating your life and the new day, which I think is beautiful and amazing. Not taking things so personally. Understand that people are going to hate me and fuck me over in spite of how I treat them. They just don't understand. Be easy on others, because it's immaturity, which I'm very much familiar with. And even still, if someone's just having a really shitty day, it doesn't have to be bad. Like, it's just, I see you. Like, we've all had that day. For me, it's like almost every day. So look to all with a degree of empathy. God, that's very hard for me to do. But, and you know, and like find good things to say about people even if you don't like them. But then also, like, if you really suck, I mean, I don't think you can, I don't know, I think the concept of being beautiful is sort of like hindered when you're a piece of shit, I think. I feel bad for saying that. I'm still sort of understanding how all of this can work, because there are so many contradictions, so like, bear with me. Going the extra mile to take care of myself. Complimenting others and not expecting anything in return. I already do that. Acts of kindness without expecting anything in return, including politeness, just being nice for the sake of it, being nice, you know, meeting negativity with positivity, as my friend often says, who is so much better than me for this, because God, how do I do that? Complimenting myself, being reflective like I sort of am now, making the time I spend with myself or with other people as valuable as possible, making deep connections. On the contrary, accepting people as just acquaintances. Accepting what is outside of your control. Refrain from pointing out flaws and hypocrisy in others on small scales, because you were once a hypocrite. And I still am. Being nice, whilst at the same time not being afraid to stand up for myself. Well, that's gonna be hard. Going outside. Interacting with animals, yes. Sleeping responsibly. Meditation. Deeply considering the consequences of my actions and words on others and myself. Giving people the benefit of the doubt. Talking good about others when they aren't present to replace gossip. Intimacy. With that can be in any sort of way, not just like regular You know, just, it's all like that deep connection thing. Like, truly, like, get in your fields with your friends. Sitting alone with my thoughts with no distraction. I've been doing that a little bit, and wow, it's scary. I've realised that for like 17 years, I just haven't done that, like, more than 3 times. Wow. Worst Buddhist ever. No, it's fine. It's fine. Because that just means that I need it. That just means that I need it. No one starts out good. It's something that's learned. Diffusing anger instead of doing or saying something I will regret. Therapy. Or talking to yourself. Do it. Sit down and talk to yourself. Because the best conversations you have will be with yourself. And come on, do you really know who you are? No, no one does, so you could probably earn a lot by talking to yourself. You know more about others than you do about yourself. How crazy is that? You're always there. Be content with existing without a need to be seen. Ironically, I'm saying this on the internet, like I said before. But like I was saying earlier, don't crave a specific response. Crave no response at all. You are not a clown. You don't owe people, a performance. Just authenticity. That's how you avoid this. How to avoid, needing attention is by being authentic. Not considering how people will read you. You know what this sort of reminds me of? When I used to write, which I want to get back into and I might start again, I used to sort of write with the intention of someone reading it. But your art doesn't have to be perceived. Same with your life. It doesn't have to, but that's how you'll attract the right people. So it's very beneficial. Comparing anything I do to others or vice versa. God, comparison really is the thief of joy. Don't do it. Genuinely feeling happy for people, again, even if I don't like them that much. You know, if they achieve something great, then I can appreciate that instead of being envious or bitter about it. I think that's pretty good. So those are some things that are both bad for me and then good for me. I think it's really good to recognise these things for yourself because, again, these are very specific to me, but I think it'd be very beneficial to you to do some soul searching and find out what's bad and good for you. Because then if you identify these habits, then you can sort of you know what I mean? Because knowing what you're doing wrong is very important to change. That's step number 1. On top of that, knowing how to proceed by doing the things that are good for you. I think that's it. Okay, so I love you all. Hopefully this kind of helped. I was very vulnerable with you. Hopefully this kind of helped. I think it's a very good exercise for you to do, even if this didn't apply to you much. So yeah, I hope it goes well. Also, this is quite unfortunate because it's not the 8th of March anymore, it's the 9th of March, but yesterday was International Women's Day, and if no one got you flowers, then that was why I had them in frame this entire time. I was gonna say something, but I forgot to. So I love you all deserve flowers, and you are seen and heard, and we will be okay.